Hello, welcome back to another Hermes agent video. Today I want to talk about GPT 5.6 Luna and the massive price cut it just got. And also, DeepSeek just released the new GA for V4 Flash. Both are going to be extremely competitive with one another. GPT 5.6 Luna, 0.2 cents in, dirt cheap. And DeepSeek V4 Flash only 0.14 cents in, a little bit cheaper on the out, but both of these models are essentially Flash models. There's also like Gemini 3.5 Flash Lite, which is out there. I think these two beat it. And as we go through the video and discuss the intelligence levels and how they work, I think you'll see how beneficial it is that you can use kind of both of these models, or even do something with mixture of agents where you use both models together. These are great for bulk tasks and things like that. So if you want to follow along, I created a little brief for us to follow along. So what I'm going to do is first show you how to connect the API for OpenAI. You can also use your Codex subscription. Not only is Luna cheaper in API, it's also going to give you 80% more usage in your subscription. So I think the API is a little bit quicker. So let's first do that, and then we'll get into it here. So to set up your OpenAI API to use Luna, what you want to do is go to platform.openai.com. This is going to be separate than your Codex subscription. What you want to do is go to API keys, and I'm not going to click it because it has my API keys. But essentially, you go to API key, you create an API key, you call it Hermes API key, whatever you want, and that's going to be what you give to Hermes to set it up. And you can do that yourself in your environment variables, or just give the API key to Hermes, and Hermes will do it for you. Now, the one thing to know when you are setting it up, a few things is, first, in your usage, you can always monitor your usage here in the API. You can see I've been using it a little bit, and it's very cheap. For 3 million tokens, about 4 million tokens so far, it's cost me a quarter. So yeah, it's extremely efficient model to use, and highly recommend. And while you're creating your OpenAI API, if you want to set up DeepSeek, you just go to platform.deepseek.com, and it's the same thing. And as you see, like for 1 billion tokens, it's cost me $18. It's extremely cheap, and this is in a mixture of using Flash and Pro. The new V4 Pro model is coming soon, the GA model, but the V4 Flash model has been released and it's up there. So now that you have your APIs, you can go to, like I said, you can just tell Hermes, just use a prompt like this. Here is my API key, your API key here. Please set this up across all profiles to use. And it's just a simple prompt like that, and that's all you have to do. And then afterwards, you see I already have DeepSeek set up here. I have it on Ultra. It really doesn't use much usage, and it absolutely flies. And if you want the API, you can just type in API, and you can select Luna. You put it on Ultra, whatever you want. By default, it will be on Thinking. You can put it on Fast. I like it on Fast. So, and that's it. Now you're in. You have Luna set up. It's that simple, and like I said, it's 20 cents in. It's dirt cheap, and it has extremely good intelligence for being just a Flash model. So let's put it to the test. Let's say pull up the performance metrics. Luna Ultra. As per the GPT, OpenAI blog. So now you can kind of see it in action as it works. So as it's doing its research, we can talk a little bit more about what changed. So it's the fastest, cheapest model tier. It can use tools and complete multi-step tasks, so it is built for high volume work. OpenAI says it beats their previous frontier model on professional work tasks. Well, it means Anthropic's. It beats Anthropic's Fable 5 on professional work tasks, roughly 99% lower cost per task, and is about as capable as a frontier model from a year ago at 6 cents on the dollar. So, and DeepSeek V4 Flash also, it's going to be smaller, only 284 billion parameters with 13 billion active, which makes it very quick, and you can toggle thinking, non-thinking. But the GA, like the new official release, it was in preview mode. It adds a big jump in agent capability, and yeah, it supports everything you need for APIs. Okay, so we can kind of look through some stats here very quickly. It did well across the board, especially with the artificial analysis coding agent. And the interesting thing about Ultra is that it coordinates four agents in parallel by default. So it uses some more tokens, but Ultra gives you the ability to use more agents. So yeah, it's very powerful. So let's now ask it for a side-by-side comparison with Frontier model. You can see it's doing its research. And if you want to actually read any of this yourself, you can check out any of these links. OpenAI publishes all of it, so you can check it out. And same with DeepSeek. And yeah, like I said, Luna is very good for high volume work, and V4 Flash is good for agent automation. So both are great options in Hermes. So we can go by some benchmarks here just to look at things side by side. So, right, we have a comparison here with Luna, Sol 5.5, GPT 5.5, Fable 5, Opus 4.8, and then Gemini. And I can do the same for V4 Flash right after that. So yeah, I mean, these are benchmarks. Again, you kind of have to use it to really, kind of feel it out for yourself. But it did better on the agent's last exam. And again, what's making this so great is that it's 20 cents per million tokens. It did extremely well on the terminal bench. This is important in Hermes especially because it's essentially always using the terminal even in desktop apps. So this means it completed 84% of its tasks when given them. So it's right in line with 5.5 and actually beat Fable. So yeah, it's a very powerful model for now, very little. It's overall not the strongest. Sol is still going to be the best, but you can use it for bulk tasks. Think reading, crunching through PDFs, spreadsheets, things like that, doing web searching like this. If you're doing a long development task, maybe not. If you have some cheap cron jobs you want to run, great model to use. Also, very cool thing in Hermes Agent is now we can start a new session just like that. So now let's do the same for the new DeepSeek model. And I personally think V4 Flash is even faster than that. Pull up the new info on DeepSeek V4 Flash, the GA release, in plain English. I don't always need the technical terms. I like it in plain English. Just tell me what it's about. I can look at I can look at all the technical stuff later. Sometimes I feel like LLMs, they get a little too technical, and So now I want to see actually a side-by-side comparison with DeepSeek V4 Flash and 5.6 Luna, so we can actually see it. Here's some information on V4 Flash. Scored 82.7 on the terminal bench, and you can kind of research the benchmarks later. And like I said, it's very cheap to run, and the cache hit is what really saves you that money. So show me a comparison. So let's have Hermes pull up a comparison for us. I think V4 Flash is a little bit quicker. As you can see, it running through some things here. Okay, so like I said, the pricing is essentially the same. I don't know what the cache it is, but for V4 Flash, it's essentially nothing. It's free, pretty much. This is what's going to save you a lot of money. What the cache hit means is that like every time it has to go look at the previous part of your conversation per million tokens, it's only going to hit you for 0.0028, which is it's less than half a penny. So it's very cheap. And just looking at the specs and availability, they both have 1 million token context windows. V4 Flash has a bit larger of a max output. We don't have the GPT 5.6 size here, but perhaps it's about the same as DeepSeek V4 Flash, don't know. And the GA was released just a day ago. We've been waiting on that. And then the Luna price cut happened the day before. So the day before, Luna dropped in price, and then DeepSeek went ahead and dropped the new official model for V4 Flash, and they're both virtually the same price. And yeah, like I said, you can use the OpenAI API, and yeah, you just go ahead and get your API from the DeepSeek platform like I showed you before. And in terms of performance, the strength, we can use the benchmarks. And then the new V4 Flash model actually exceeds the old V4 Pro model. So bit of a clue as to how good the new V4 Pro model will be once that comes out. So yeah, you can stick with, if you like OpenAI, stick with Luna. You can use it in the API or subscription. I recommend, like I said, API for Luna, subscription for the bigger models, and then that way you can save your subscription usage for the bigger stuff. And then V4 Flash is it's dirt cheap. The reasoning is solid. It's very quick, and yeah, you have both. Both are great choices as Flash, dirt cheap, just pound the ground model. And here we can see a chart that OpenAI provided. So this on max reasoning mode puts it in line with GLM 5.2 and Opus 5 on low. So for this it will cost you a little more at 5 cents per task, compared to something much lower like this if you put it on low reasoning. But I mean, still, you're not really breaking the bank if you want to run it at max or ultra. So, I would say go for it, and you can also use fast mode in the API now. So yeah, certainly give it a try. I think they're both worth it. And if you want to do something cool, you can do this. So let's start a new session. Show you quickly. So you go into your settings and models. I actually want to change my default. Don't need Pro. You can set up a vision model. So I'm going to change this to actually Luna for my vision model. It's going to analyze my images. And then what you can do is set up your mixture of agents. Now, mixture of agents is very cool. So I'm going to use the OpenAI API. I'm going to select Luna. And then I'm going to remove Pro. I don't need that. What I want to do is add a reference model. I'm going to go to DeepSeek. I'm going to use Flash. And then we're going to hit Apply. So now what this will do, and then you can actually, one more thing. The aggregator, I'm going to use DeepSeek. Let's use Pro as the aggregator. The aggregator will synthesize both agents together to give us a response.